Hello everybody, Chazdex here, and welcome back to the 6th episode of building this park A to Z, and also the final part of building this mine train. That's right, after 4 episodes, predominantly dominated by the letter C, we are finally moving on next episode. All you gotta do is stick around, watch this video, then wait until next episode where we'll finally move on to something new. Also, I should probably get the elephant out of the room real quick before we continue. I am pretty sick right now. Well, not deathly sick. I'm like a normal amount of sick. I was still able to go like to school and stuff. It wasn't fun, but I was able to go. So that's why my voice sounds a little weird. But all that out of the way, let's take a look at what I'm doing right now. So yeah, this episode's mainly just going to be dominated by me finishing all the interiors and show scenes, as well as doing some exterior lighting, just kind of like bringing everything together. That's one of the biggest reasons it's been so long since my last episode. Not only did I have a convention, and not only did I pick up this a little cold right here, but it was just a lot of work for this episode. But as you can probably see so far, it is coming together pretty well. So this first show scene that I kind of just skipped past, I just kind of finished it. You can still kind of see it in the background, but basically this is when you first enter the mountain. And I just wanted to like make it clear what this mountain is and what this ride is. Because before I didn't necessarily think it was that clear that this is like a mining mountain and you're like in a mine train. It might seem obvious, but when you're walking through the area, you don't really get a good idea of it. Or at least you didn't before. Now it kind of all comes together a little bit better. And speaking of walking through, at the end of today's episode, I'm going to come into the park on foot and give you a walking tour of everything that we've done so far. I saw a lot of comments saying that the time lapses were a little fast for their taste, so I figured let's listen to them and give them a little bit more slow paced and kind of give like a lay of the land. But yeah, as you can see, it's just a lot of placing rocks, a lot of moving beams around, and yeah, that's mainly what I was doing for a lot of hours the other day. Well, actually, in reality, it was more like the other week, but we don't really talk about that. But if I'm being honest, I really hate working on these show scenes and interiors. In theory, it's really fun. I get to like let out my creativity, tell a story in a dark ride. That's like one of the biggest reasons I love theme parks. It's just like telling stories. But when you actually have to do it, and it's not just an idea in your brain, it's a little annoying. Because you don't really consider how detailed you kind of need it to be to have it like articulate what's in your brain. And even then, I don't even think I did that the best this ride. Don't get me wrong, I'm still happy with the final product. But the entire thing of like having an idea in your brain and then executing it, I just don't know if I did it the best in this ride. But regardless, this show scene's almost done, and I'm kind of tying everything together and kind of starting the theme of the ride with these little crystals. Last episode I put some of the crystals, some of these crystals out on the mountainside, just to give a little detail. But I figured I might continue that motif, and I ended up making that like a central theme for the ride. And I don't know if I do this now or a little bit later, but yeah, I think I do start coming in and start changing this like basic track that I had to the slatted track that comes in game. I started this run of episodes, I guess you could call it, this little arc of the series, by saying I wanted to custom track the entire ride. And there was a point where it's just like, I mean, I didn't honestly think it looked good. If it looked good, I would have been willing to like go through and do it, but the in-game track actually ended up looking better than anything I could have done. And also looking at my inspiration for this ride, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, a lot of the more intense sections of that ride are actually tracked with this same style of like fake-ish track, I guess. Like, you know, this built-in wooden track. And since I was essentially trying to do a more intense version of Seven Dwarfs Mine Train with this ride, I figured it actually ended up making more sense to have the track be that bulkier style for the entire ride. But yeah, now we are moving on to, I skipped the show scene because it was just like really integrated with other show scenes later in the ride. So I just skipped to the next show scene that mattered, I guess. And this is probably the most pivotal show scene of the ride. I'll talk about it a little later, but the effects and stuff that I did in this area were also really fun for me. So I don't know. I should had a really good time making this specific area of the ride. If I had to list anything that I was happy about with this ride, I think the thing I would put at the top of my list would be this area right here. Or at least like this corridor where you hit the brakes before you enter the show scene. Or when you're just like starting to enter the show scene. I just really like that. It just kind of has that like realistic oomph, you know? You see it in real life. It's just like the oomph that you get from like looking at the rock work. I guess the best way I could describe this feeling is like if you look at Disney rock work, you get like an oomph from looking at that, you know? Like it doesn't necessarily look real, but it looks satisfying and it's just like fun to look at. And that's like what a lot of show scenes nowadays, in my opinion, at theme parks, they fail to capture that kind of thing. They fail to capture like that oomph. The theming fails to capture that like feeling that you get, like that almost nostalgic feeling, I guess, but you get it in things that aren't even nostalgic. You get it like I get that feeling from like the new Avatar area at Disney. Well, new in air quotes. It's been around for a little bit now, but I get that feeling from that area. It's just like that oomph. Oh, look at that. It's like that's like a beautiful, like busy, but also like well choreographed kind of looking area. That's the best way I could describe it. The best example I have of it would have to be Animal Kingdom. I think it's the Africa section of Animal Kingdom, like that bustling city. That city has the oomph. Like it's busy and detailed, but also like perfectly crafted so that you're looking where you need to be looking, and it's just beautiful. You know, Expedition Everest, basically anything Joe Rohde worked on. If you don't know, Joe Rohde is one of the most famous, influential Disney Imagineers. Anything that he's worked on that has that oomph that I'm trying to capture here. Anyways, now we're moving on to this area right before you get into you get into like that final finale explosion scene. That's what that scene is, by the way. It's like an explosion finale before you take the lift and make your way back to the brakes, or before you go to the second half. It isn't even a finale. It's like a mid-alley. It's like right in the middle of the ride. But yeah, I'm working on the area transitioning into that. And then lighting right here was also a pretty big part of this, because I wanted to like make you feel scared, I guess is the best way to. I wanted to make you feel scared, and I don't really accomplish that right here, but I do in a little bit. And I don't know why I'm stuck on this, but going back to the oomph thing, I think a better way to describe it, it's honestly just something when something's good, like really good, then you get that oomph. Like a lot of times we think, oh yeah, that's great. We love that, like that specific land. We love that ride or something. But it doesn't have that oomph. And that oomph is when something is like truly great and truly amazing. Obviously, I'm not saying this is like a work of art. Like this ride is not amazing by any means, but it has the oomph for my standards in Planet Coaster at least. But yeah, you can see right here, I'm going through a bunch of just like random effects and stuff I want to put in here. And in a second here, I take out like a bunch of the random effects. I mean, like at least that like exploding barrel right there, I take that out because I realized something, and I'll do a little bit more of this later on. But all like the effects that are built into Planet Coaster are honestly not that realistic. And even in like the most realistic parks that you can see, a lot of people just like settle for like the built-in effects, even if they would be very dangerous in real life, and they might not even exist. So something that you see I do in a little bit over here to kind of help sell an effect, or at least give it more like that realism factor, is that I treat it like how they would do an actual effect in real life, not in Planet Coaster, in real life. But I guess that's just a little bit of a teaser, because I don't think that's for a little bit here. I think we got a little bit more to go before we get to that. But now I'm kind of working on this little middle area between that show scene back there and this track that takes you to the breaks. And now I'm not. Now I'm working on more backstage. Just a real sporadic episode. A lot of my not fast passes, my time lapses often seem a little sporadic. But I don't know. I guess that's just how I build. But yeah, you can see right here I'm building, just adding a little bit more detail to the backstage, adding a ladder, because I was like, okay, how are they gonna get up? Like that seems like a pretty big plot hole. How are they supposed to get up? but I ended up getting it working. And actually now watching back the time lapse, the effect thing I was talking about, I think I might have actually not recorded that. So that's fun. You'll see it when you go on the ride. Basically, I simulated in a transparent OLED screen, because that's how they do a lot of the effects in parks. It's like an explosion effect, and I didn't just want to like put an explosion effect in there. I wanted to like make it look like it could, like, you can kind of see how they do it a little bit. Even though technically you don't have to, you can kind of see it a little. And when you're riding through the ride at night, it's just subtle enough that you can't even really tell that much. I mean, you can't even tell at all when you're going through the ride if you're not explicitly looking for it, which I honestly think is pretty realistic. In real life, you won't be able to see how they do the effects unless you're looking for them. And now that I'm watching back the time lapse, again, I do think I do show the effect, so we can stop worrying about this and talk about something else. Or maybe not, because I'm starting on the effect in a couple seconds here. Just an amazing episode, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, you can see right here, I made this little tunnel, made it pretty narrow, so that you see the baby at the end. Then I had these like plasma explosions. I was thinking, hey, those don't look right. You can see I'm triggering them right there, and I don't know if I actually realized I wanted to make it like super realistic until a little bit further on, but I'll see. Anyways, yeah, I'm just decorating this corridor right now, and then I think this right here was kind of the part where I realized, this right here was the part where I realized I needed to make the baby look smaller, so I gave him a little thing to stand on. Then I also put these like basically little emitters, or quote unquote emitters, because I mean, I guess in real life what those boxes of TNT would do would kind of act as like the storage for, I don't know, maybe like the projection, because this could also work as a projection. It's pretty open to interpretation. It would be a lot easier if gameplay Chazdex maybe showed us how we put the glass panels in already. Maybe if you did that, but no. Gameplay Chazdex is gonna go work on roads. Oh wait, no. Gameplay Chazdex was checking piece count. Yes, that's what Gameplay Chazdex was doing. Now Gameplay Chazdex is putting a roof on here. I mean, I guess that's valuable. Something that I often tend to just like not do is put a roof on stuff because I'm just too lazy to do it. Then I just wait until the last minute. So, I mean, I guess Gameplay Chazdex was being smart, I guess. After I put this little thing right here, like this little overhang over the track, I actually really liked how it began to come together, that little turnaround section. Because I wasn't necessarily the happiest with it, but once I put that little bit on there, definitely came together a little better. Still not doing the glass thing, but that's fine. We can talk about what I'm doing here. I'm working on this lift hill, and I really wanted to theme this lift hill to a T. That is not the correct term, but we'll skip past that. I really wanted to theme that lift hill really well, and then yeah, you can see right here, I put even more explosions at the top of the lift hill, and these ones. This is when I started getting the idea to make things realistic. Wanted to make these effects realistic. I was just kind of thinking about it. I was like, okay, but how does this work? So if you look really closely, you can see I put like some emitters in from where the effect would explode from. And then I also made sure to like wire everything up. And then I put like I made a little box on the back of the backstage area. Put a little sign up and kind of made that like the quote unquote pyrotechnics setup area. And honestly, I think I'm going to turn those effects off because that's honestly the most realistic thing I could be doing is not have those effects working. Yeah, you can see these are the little emitters that I put on where the effects are, just to kind of give the impression that the explosions are coming from somewhere. Because like in a dream world, it would look better if it didn't look like they were coming from anywhere, but that's just not physically possible in real life. And of course, we're trying to go realistic here, so you got to make sacrifices. Speaking of sacrifices, by the time I'm done talking about this, it'll be gone, but I just had to adjust the entire side of that lift hill, which in the moment was really annoying, but now looking back at it, it didn't matter. It did not matter at all. And am I doing the glass yet? Almost. I'm working on this rock, filling in some gaps right there. A lot of gap filling with these rocks. A lot of gap filling. But the gap filling adds up. This gap filling adds up to make it look decent. I'm not gonna say it looks great. It looks decent. This right here, this is actually what I was talking about earlier. I wanted to like add these flashing lights to kind of give you like a bit more of a sense of danger. And then I put that danger sign up. So I really hope they got the impression of danger. But yes, this is what I was talking about. These effects right here, these little panels, they aren't the most obvious to see. But I also made sure to outline this because if you're walking through in the daytime, you're able to see that those are clearly like screens or like glass ready for projection. Then when you're going through the ride, which you'll see in a little slower than what I just showed there, we'll see a little later on what everything looks like. I don't know, I'm just really happy with it. I've never really done an effect. All the effects that I've done, I've either just like said, oh, it's realistic or something. I don't know, I never really like made an effort to make the effects in my dark rides realistic, but now I'm actually trying to do something, so that's great. Anyways, we built it. I can stop talking about it. Now we are on to the final scene of the ride, and this is another one that I was pretty happy with. Now that I think about it, I don't know why I'm dissing this ride. I was actually pretty happy with most of the scenes in this ride, so I don't know what I'm getting all hyped up or pent up for, but here we are. Now, this final scene in the ride, it just shows you coming back to the station, dropping off your loot, and then heading back to the loading dock. So I don't know. I just wanted to make it grand, but I also kind of wanted to make it feel like cozy a little bit, I guess. So yeah, you can see right here I'm building the transfer track as well. Not the best with realism when it comes to transfer tracks. I'm good with realism in a lot of other senses, but transfer tracks is not my foyer. So if anybody sees those transfer tracks and wants to bash them, be my guest. Honestly, I think now looking back at them, I think those transfer tracks could be a little better, because like in real life, what would happen with those transfer tracks is they would have to slide over, and there's no room for anything to slide over. So I think that might be a pretty glaring issue, but I don't know. Also, it couldn't fit all the trains on those transfer tracks, so I don't know how that would work either. But anyway, you can see I didn't talk about it, it's gone now, but I did just put some like extra fencing outside the queue because I was just kind of looking at the capacity of this ride and thinking, hey, we don't have enough queue space. So I extended it out a little with those fences, those like temporary fences, because I'm honestly thinking that this ride is probably the newest one in the park, just like lore wise. I know we probably aren't that far yet, but I would say, yeah, lore wise, this is probably the largest investment the park's gotten in a minute, and it's a pretty brand new investment. So yeah, you can see right there I am working on the transfer tracks, but back to what I was saying, I definitely think this is probably the newest investment in the park. So I mean, I guess it makes sense to have those temporary fences out, but now I'm not working on the temporary fences anymore. Yeah, and see right here, I don't even know if that would work. You know? Oh, I should not be recording this voiceover with a cold, but I don't even know if that would work. But I don't know. It looks realistic, so I guess I try to build realistic. But a lot of the times I just like look at something and say, hey, does that look realistic? And I was like, if my initial reaction is, hey, that looks pretty realistic, then it's realistic. But I definitely need to get better about like doing a little bit more research, like that HVAC stuff on top of the buildings. Like I tried to do some research, but I was too lazy to do anything of value. So I was just like, hey, it looks kind of like what they have in real life. And I just used some like loose logic where it's like, okay, we need to ventilate these rooms, so might as well like put some ventilation pieces over that. I just use pretty loose logic for a lot of things. There are some things which I'm really knowledgeable in making realistic things, but there's also a lot of things that I am not. And I'm not going to sit here and say I'm knowledgeable in all things realism, because that would be a lie. But yeah, for the most part, this ride is basically done. I do add a couple more details to this final show scene, but I think I'm going to cut us off here for the sake of time and hop in game. You'll get a little surprise when we're in game. How about that? All right. See you in game. Alrighty, here we are in game. So I figured I might as well start us off at the entrance because you guys also haven't gotten like the best look at the entrance area, at least from a first person perspective. So yeah, I figured I'd just give you guys a quick tour of everything. But just put a lot of emphasis on the mountain, which, by the way, I'm just loving that sightline from the entrance. You see that mountain back there, just big and imposing. Makes you want to keep on going through the park. I love it. But yeah, anyway, here we come. Go through the gate, scan our ticket, beep, and then we are in. So yeah, got a bathroom right there. Pretty simple. Got a restaurant to be, another restaurant to be, some gift shops, the works. We got a little sneak peek at what I'm working on next episode. You can't really tell, but you'll see. You'll see what I'm working on next episode when it comes out. But yeah, here we are, finally. Really happy. I'm really happy with this land. You come through and you just like see everything. It's all on full display. I love it. Yeah, it's amazing. Of course, we got our bathrooms. These were my first fully finished interiors. Love how they turned out. Got our exit ramp, elevator, the works. We come through here. I don't think I showed this in the time lapse, but I furnished out this little gift shop thingy right here, so you can get your gifts from this guy. Hi. Yeah, you can get your little gifts. They aren't really stocked up right now, but they'll probably deal with that soon. And then yeah, check out the Q building. Love that. Come through. And here we go, Canyon Runner. We see the sign, and we're almost at the entrance. Entrance right here. Oh, I love this. I don't think I showed this either, but I made this little like, custom sign to show the wait times. And I have the PSD for that saved, so I can put that in. I can put that on every ride and kind of have like the same template. But anyway, here we are in the queue. I'm not really going to walk through everything in full detail because I did show this at the end of last episode cinematics. So if you want a more in-depth look at the entire queue, you can just go to last episode. But yeah, here it is. Get a pretty good general look at it. I added this since last episode. It's just a little thing. In reality, that would probably be bolted in. I just kind of wanted a thing where like the music could like hypothetically be coming from. Just as like a little bit of world building. Got our little custom signs here as well. Love those. And here we are. We are at the loading dock. So for this POV, I'm gonna mute up. But I'm gonna control the camera. Custom. Just because a lot of the show scenes in reality, your head would turn toward it. But obviously these dummies don't move their head to look at stuff. So I'm going to have to do that for them. But yeah, without further ado, let's hop on the ride.